Ataya pratibodhitam bhagavata narayanena swayam yasena gatitam purana munina madhye mahabharatam Advaita amrita varshinim bhagavatim ashtadasha adhyayinim amba tvam anusandhanali Bhagavadgita bhavadveshinim. O Mother Bhagavad-gita, I repeatedly meditate on you, who are the 18 chapters in the middle of the Mahabharata, composed by the ancient sage Vyasa, taught for the benefit of Partha, that is us, by the Lord Narayana himself, the goddess, the shower of the nectar of Advaita, the enemy of rebirth. In verse 1 to 11 of chapter 10, we spoke about Ishwara's Swarupa, and this Swarupa is called Yoga Maya. And this Maya has the capacity to create this world, which we call Jagat. And this world, another name, is Vibhuti. So when we say Vibhuti, that is all of the objects that we see. So when we say Jagat, that includes all of the Vibhutis. And this capacity, called Maya, is both the intelligent cause, called Nimitta Karanam, and the material cause, called Upadana Karanam. And this capacity remains both of those causes, whether it is in unmanifest potential and also when there is a manifest Jagat. It is still Nimitta Karanam and Upadana Karanam, because we cannot say that it has manifested one time and now we are experiencing its manifestation and it is resting. It is always in manifest, out of its potential. So out of its potential we are experiencing this Jagat, these Vibhutis, ongoingly, consistently. So then when we say in the Shastra, we will see Ishwara being described as Sarva Jnanam and Sarva Shakti. So this means only to Ishwara's power, called Yoga or Maya, which is both the Nimitta Karanam and the Upadana Karanam, because it consistently creates this world. For that reason, how do we define Ishwara? All knowledge, all power. Now, are we defining consciousness as all knowledge, all power? Or are we defining Maya's potential as all knowledge, all power? Maya's potential. Remember, Ishwara has two natures, para prakriti and apara prakriti. So when we say potential, or when we say all knowledge, all power, that belongs to apara prakriti. Okay? Because you cannot now assign intelligence or material onto consciousness. So this means Ishwara is the one cause of this entire Jagat. So we can say, because I see all manifestations, what manifestations? All of them, including the wall, including these sounds are also manifestations. Your senses are manifestations. The carpet is a manifestation. The floor is. This thunder is a manifestation. This light shining now is a manifestation. So when one recognizes that all of these manifestations are of the one, then what's the byproduct of that? We need not separate effort to experience, to appreciate, to devote to Ishwara, to the Lord. We don't need to go somewhere, some special place, or in some special room, or in some special temple, or at some special time, or in a special corner, or in a special sanctuary, or in a special pilgrimage. Why? Because we just said the entire Jagat is a reflection of Nimitta Karanam and Upadana Karanam, which is consistently generating this world. And those two intelligences are encompassing one word called Maya, and Maya is a power of Ishwara. Therefore, we are never away from Ishwara. So this vision that we speak of, the one who has the vision of this one which expresses itself into the many, we call them a Vishwarupa Bhakta or a Virat Bhakta. Okay? That means they see forms all coming from the one. And what's the consequence of this for a Vishwarupa or Virat Bhakta? What is their life now, having seen that all of these manifestations are reflections of the one? We said last week, this is revision still, I'm going to say this word intentionally, your raga dvesha reduces. Now when I say the word your, what am I referring to? Am I referring to Atma? What specific word when I say your, or when any person in the world says your? Jiva? Okay, there's the name for it. It starts with A. Last week. Antahkarana. So for example, when I say to you, hey, can I borrow your pen? What am I really saying? Can I borrow that pen which the Antahkarana has claimed possession of? Which your Antahkarana has claimed possession of? Can I go to your house? What am I saying? I'm saying let me go to that house which individualized Purusha Antahkarana has claimed possession as mine. Who has claimed that possession? The Ahamkara. So why am I saying this word? Because often in this world we will consistently hear just can I see your, can I get your, can I experience your, can I go to your house, let's go to your favorite place. What is your experience? How was your holiday? What am I saying if I say that? How was your holiday? How was that holiday which the Antahkarana has experienced through Sthula Sharira? How was that the entire experience which was claimed and owned by what? The Antahkarana, which then the Ahamkara, the I am, has claimed as my holiday. So far, raga, dvesha reduces. What's the consequence of this? The mind, distraction goes down. In other words, the only cause of all psychological problems is raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes. Do we have problems when we are getting exactly what we want? No. Impossible. Problems only, psychological problems come when we don't have something that what we think we should have in order for us to be happy. So raga dvesha is the core of all psychological problems that this world undergoes in many different forms. And how do we fix that? We fix that through going for help, calling a friend. We fix that through maybe meditation, trying to calm down. We fix that through going to holidays, so on. And the result of this is one gets to another word coming, enjoy sattvic mind. Now, the word enjoy, am I saying there is a doer who is enjoying a sattvic mind? Because this is what the mind's going to come up with, right? When you enjoy something, is it not true that you're doing something to enjoy it? Yeah? To enjoy a holiday. What does this mean? I am doing actions, and those actions are producing enjoyment. Okay? So when we say the word enjoyment, it is always usually associated with what? A preceding doer which does something which reflects or has a consequence of enjoyment. Now I said enjoying sattvic mind. Am I saying now that this person who is free of raga dvesha is doing something to enjoy a sattvic mind? No. Why not? In other words, this word enjoy is different because your nature, the nature of the sattvic mind is sattvic. In other words, when I remove obstacles called tamaguna and rajaguna, then what's the natural result? There is the enjoyment of what is, of what already was all along. In other words, when we get born, we're all born by default with a sattvic mind. Only to the conditions of the society, parents, and all of these ideas, it produces a very noisy mind full of raga dvesha. So when we calm this mind down through vibhuti yoga, then what happens? Then one gets to enjoy a sattvic mind. Is this clear now when I say enjoy? In other words, I don't have to do anything to enjoy what already is by default. So this is a different kind of enjoyment than doing an action to enjoy something. Clear? Yes, Lloyd?
No, not quite. You're saying that enjoyment is not is somehow attributed to the self, or?
Yeah, the nature of the self is ananda, okay? But we're just sticking with the mind now. Just like the nature of the self is ananda, the nature of the mind is sattvic. Now, when you're happy in life, what is that? That's a reflection of a sattvic mind. Now, do you do anything to be happy, or you're just naturally happy? So when I say you're enjoying happiness in the context of enjoying, that purity, are you doing something? No. But if I say you're going shopping and I'm enjoying this, why are you enjoying shopping? Because you are doing the shopping, okay? In other words, if you don't do the shopping, you won't enjoy the shopping. However, a sattvic mind, if I remove raga dvesha, then what's the default condition, which always is, sattvic. And what do we just ask the question? When you're happy, you're naturally experiencing happiness. Therefore, when I say this person, Vishwarupa Bhakta, is enjoying a sattvic mind, I'm not saying they're doing something to enjoy it, but they're simply reveling, enjoying the mind which is naturally happy. Yeah.
So in this case, enjoy effectively means becoming himself. Is that the enjoyment you're talking about? Because that
removing obstacles which would deny me the enjoyment which I so much deserve as a human being.
So there's the timeless happiness, which is the natural state of being, and then there's the happiness which is stimulated by the outside.
This is the mind we're talking about. We're not talking about the self now. Mohan? Okay, don't now mix Atma with the mind. I'm sticking at the mind level. Remember, there's an order to everything that I do. So Raga Dvesha removed. Distractions gone. Sattvic mind, what's the consequence of that? The mind naturally starts to entertain wanting to know about Nirguna Ishwara Jnanam innocently. So for example, this happens quite often. The person's been doing a lot of sadhana, a lot of yoga asanas, a lot of Ashtanga yoga, a lot of Kriya yoga, different kind of purification techniques. And they come to a point and they say, I've kind of how much more can you purify? Right? How much more can you be pure? How much more can you sort of be this divine, calm person that's just, floating around and sort of feeling always up in the air? And you come to this stage where you just can't go any further. And then naturally the mind starts to entertain, who am I actually? What is this that I'm devoting to? Is there more to this? Now what happens next? Naturally, that mind, which has now come to its peak of having been sattvic, comes in contact or crosses path with the Shastra and the expounder of the Shastra. In other words, by some circumstance, somehow they feel interested, they come to a class or they see some video and go, this makes sense. This sort of now is, what I was looking for. So this, what we call coming in contact, last week we spoke about, is called Ishwara's compassion. In other words, only to my previous sadhana, which produced a sattvic mind, which required a lot of work, the consequence of that is I'm now entertaining Ishwara Jnanam, and I come in contact with Ishwara through its laws and orders, provides me contact with the Acharya, and then that leads to what? Aparoksha Jnanam, eventually through your own assimilation. What does Aparoksha Jnanam mean? I know it means direct knowledge, but specifically it means not through someone else's eyes, through my own eyes. Paroksha Jnanam is indirect knowledge, which means through someone else's eyes. I'm reading about Buddha. He is enlightened, not me. So I'm reading about his life, what it's like to, liberation. What is it all? So you read like a scholarly approach. In other words, I'm looking at it through their eyes. That's paroksha. Aparoksha jnanam, an understanding through this own antahkarana. That means there's no difference between that one who is liberated and this one who is reading about the liberated person. That was verse 1 to 11. Now verse 12 to 18. Arjuna is going to request Krishna to speak more about Vishwarupa examples. Okay, he wants to hear some glorious examples, both known and the unknown. So some of them we're not going to know about, but we're going to know now because Krishna is going to tell us. For example, some things stick, some things stand out, some things shine. For example, would you rather see an elephant playing, a little baby elephant, in the pond splashing water and enjoy that as an expression of vibhuti, or a cockroach? They're both Ishwara, right? However, some things we're sort of more attracted to. So what Arjuna is saying now, oh Krishna, you've given me enough examples, however, I'm actually not happy. Give me more examples, because the more I hear, the more this is like nectar to my ears, amritam. And why does Arjuna request this? Arjuna understands, like all of our minds, that our mind can only focus on one thing at a time. So Arjuna's logic is, I know I've got many options, but what is the one thing that would have a lot of impact, a lot of positive change, a lot of appreciation? Because I don't want to, meditate on these small things. I want something, because I can only focus on one thing at a time. Give me something big, something that is glorious, something that would really instill that inspiration, devotion in me towards you, towards the self. In other words, show me finite symbols that represent or that symbolize the infinite. We used the word devotion also last week. What is devotion? Devotion is knowing the essence behind vibhutis. Knowing the essence behind that which I am devoted to or devoting to. For example, we have many people of different cultures, different teenagers also, who are devoted to different soda drinks. Some of them like Coke, some of them like Pepsi, some of them like Fanta, some of them like Red Bull. So devotees of soda drinks. Now, all soda drinks are different. They have different ingredients, they have different tastes, different colors. And we even create different companies. One Pepsi, one Coke, and they compete. We even have two people, my Coke's better, Pepsi's a knockoff. So all of the conversations go about different soda drinks. Now, what do we say about devotion? Devotion is seeing the essence behind the devoted. What is behind all of these tasty, colorful drinks? Water. The essence behind every single color, every single form, every single expression that we speak of, that we even claim ownership of and create companies and competition, is all of the one pure, attributeless content. In this case, the water. So what does devotion mean? I see the essence behind that which I am devoted to. I do not get stuck on the attributes, because the attributes are all just attributes. In this way, when you see the essence behind all vibhutis, then the three definitions of devotion, which are love, respect, and reverence, are free of contamination. They're free of likes and dislikes. What's the difference between Dvaita Bhakti Yoga and Advaita Bhakti Yoga? Remember, we're in chapter 7 to 12. 7 to 12 is nothing but Bhakti Yoga. So chapter 1 to 6 is Karma Yoga. Chapter 7 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga. Chapter 13 to 18 is Jnana Yoga. So, what does it mean to say the difference between Dvaita and Advaita? Because 99.9% of devotion, including in India, it's all Dvaita. What's the difference? Dvaita. I apply those three words to one particular item. As soon as something else comes, I'm not interested. My alone is worth love, respect, and reverence. If you're devoted towards Rama, then I've got problems with that, because my Krishna is better, so I don't want to associate with you. This is the common way of devotion. which is fine because it eventually leads to, it's chitta shuddhi, purifies the mind through lifetimes, through the course of time. So it's also fine. Now, what's Advaita Bhakti Yoga? I apply those three words to anything. If today I like Ganesha, fine. I'm going to put Ganesha on the wall in front of me. If I like Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus, okay, I'm also going to devote to him. Why? Because I see the essence behind all these avatars or all these Ishta Devatas that I am revering. And all of them are glories of Ishwara. Therefore, there is a preference, but what's the difference between like and dislike and preference? Preference means I can or I don't have to, right? Either way. But like and dislike is I have to or else. Okay, so Advaita Bhakti, there is a preference there because we're not going to say now, you know, a person's like doesn't care and they're like totally aloof. No, there is a preference. Everyone has a preference. But preference means I can, but if it's not in proximity, I can devote to someone else. It's fine. Okay? So is that clear? Dvaita versus Advaita Bhakti. Very important. Now, next verse, 16. Arjuna is going to acknowledge, first of all, Bhagavan as the only one who is qualified to speak of his glories, speak of his vibhutis. Vaktum arhasya sheshena divya hyatma vibhutayaha yabhir vibhuti bhir lokan imam stvam vyapya tishtasi.
You indeed are capable of telling in full the extraordinary glories of yourself, the glories by which you remain pervading these words.
Vaktum arhasya sheshena. The first. So Purushottama, you alone are capable of revealing Atma Vibhuti. So Atma is also the truth of every jiva, of all of us. That means no one's excluded from this word. So there's a hidden teaching there. Since that Atma is also the truth of every individual, what is Arjuna saying? Please also reveal my own glories. Now when I say ma, you have to be careful. What are we talking about? Are we talking about jiva's glories? No. When you say ma, you have to know instantly what ma refers to, Brahman. Okay, because remember, Maya is a power in Brahman. You are Brahman. So therefore, these are not only Ishwara's glories, these are my glories. But you have to know what the word my means. Otherwise, the person is going to accidentally start worshipping their own ahamkara. And that is very bad. Now, what kind of glories? Divya. That means they are not of this world. Alaukika. Laukika means worldly. Alaukika means not worldly. So this means there's no way we can know about these glories unless we hear them, and we will hear them. Now the entire second line, only you refers to Krishna, Krishna represents Ishwara, only you are eligible to talk about because you pervade all. So I only listen to the one that is all knowledge, all power of the entire Jagat. What Arjuna is saying is, Krishna, the more I listen to these nectar-like words, expressing your ananda, your limitlessness, the more I want to hear. For that reason, share something with me, with us, that stands out in creation, that is prominent, that can become the object of our meditation, that we can get inspired and meditate upon in our own private times already. So I want to focus on something that is sweet, something that is juicy and delicate, and something that instills that devotion, that love in me. Verse 17 and 18, Arjuna will request Krishna now to reveal his glories. Katam vidyamaham yogin stvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu shintyosi bhagavan maya.
The great of the yogins, ever contemplating, how can I know you? In which forms are you to be meditated upon by me, O Lord?
Sada parichintayan katam vidyan. How can I have permanent vision of your glories? Krishna. Permanent, not intermittent. Not when I get on the road, I forget about your glories. How can I have permanent vision when all I see is objects? Now, what's the answer to this? Can such vision be of the physical eye? No. It has to be of what? Go to the Antahkarana. What specifically? It has to be the vision of Buddhi. In other words, it cannot be the physical eye, it has to be the eye of wisdom. And what wisdom is that? Go back to the revision. What is devotion? I see the essence behind all things. So when we say the eye of wisdom, what is this eye of wisdom? In the Buddhi. And what does the Buddhi understand? That all of the things that I devote to, there is an essence behind all of them. By meditating on Coca-Cola or Fanta or Pepsi, I'm only ever meditating on the one pure, attributeless, pristine water, because of which all of these drinks of different flavors, different colors are possible. Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintayaha asi. So again, what specific objects are to be meditated upon which stand out in creation? For example, there are some people in history that stand out. In other words, they have done something through punya karma that has led to their popularity. Now that popularity is owing to Ishwara. Okay? Because why? All of the things that they've done were associated to the glories of Ishwara, something that everyone appreciates. So number one, first you have to understand, whoever you revere is only because of Ishwara. So what happens is, that person becomes so great that we end up worshipping that person, we end up meditating on that person. For example, Ramana Maharishi is a very common figure that, if you go to even India, you'll see some Baba in the front of the car. Why? Because the actions through punya karma they have done were associated to Lord's work, and they have become a great human being. And now, because they have done that, when I see that person, it represents divinity. So therefore, two parts. One, the glory that they have, that they enjoy, is because of Ishwara. And two, the object of meditation becomes my object of meditation because to me it represents Ishwara. So this person stands out. What is the definition of Ishwara's glory? To say glory, it means I revere what has value. However, that value excludes personal value. It does not include my own likes and dislike value. It only includes the intrinsic value. What do we mean by this? Take gold. Gold has two values: intrinsic value and personal value. What is the intrinsic value of the gold? It is rare, it is malleable, it is rust-free.
Does it rust? Does not.
It's yellow in color.
Okay, no, that's another one. That's intrinsic, right? So is that did I superimpose yellowness onto the gold? Did I superimpose rust-free onto the gold? No. Now, so that's intrinsic. Now, what's personal value of the gold?
Dollar value.
Huh?
Dollar value.
Yeah, it's a status symbol. It is monetary in value. So it is created by the man, our own value. So what does Ishwara's glory mean for gold? Does that mean I need to now start glorifying, status in this gold? No. What does it mean? I glorify the intrinsic value minus personal, superimposed, subjective ideas of what this means according to my raga dvesha. Intrinsic value is thus Ishwara's vibhuti. And that is what you contemplate upon. For example, some folks will look at Ramana as God. Okay, that's fine. However, why? You have to ask them, why do you see this person as, as Bhagavan? Well, they will say because, he's so pure. So, what do? We take purity, intrinsic value, and equate that with Ishwara's glory. You never superimpose your own raga dvesha and then start glorifying that. Because what are you doing? You're only unknowingly, unsuspectingly glorifying my own likes and dislikes. This is very important. Usually we will start revering people and say, well, they're God. In other words, what am I doing? I'm now superimposing my ideas of what God looks like, what they sound like, how they dress like. And number two, I am putting them into time and space, into form, right? And also I'm creating separation. Over there, that's not God. Only God is only over here. So what do? What is it about this? For example, Raman Maharishi represents purity. So what do? I take that purity and I go, wow, this is an amazing glory of Ishwara. Therefore, that I revere. That I have love, I have reverence, and I have respect for. Verse 18 will further expand on this idea. Vistare natmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuyah kataya triptirhi shrinvato nasti me mritam.
Please describe me again in detail the wonder and the glory of yourself, Janardana, Krishna, because I, the listener of this nectar, have no satisfaction.
Vistarena atmanaha yoga vibhutim cha. Please describe your yoga. Describe your Maya potential and vibhutis in detail. Why do we equate the word yoga to Maya? What does the word yoga mean? Communion, combination, to join, to connect. Okay? Now what is Maya? Triguna Shakti. In other words, these Triguna Shaktis join, combine, connect in different combinations, permutations to create this Jagat. Therefore, in that aspect, Yoga and Maya are the same words. Can we know Maya directly? What is Maya, first of all? Potential. Can we know, like how can we speak about, like, where is Maya? Can you show me? Can we know? But then why do we use the word Maya? Obviously it exists, the word is there in the Shastra. So how do we now come to know Maya if we cannot know about Maya?
You can sense it. Indirect.
Huh?
Indirect. You can sense it.
Yeah, okay.
You see the manifestation.
Huh?
You see the manifestation.
Excellent, 10 out of 10. In other words, I can infer the presence of Maya by the very vibhutis, the very manifestations which I see all around me. Suppose someone says, I can sing. What are you going to say? Prove it. Show me. In other words, until they sing, you cannot say anything. But when they sing, only then you go, you have the capacity to sing. So you had the potential, and now that you've turned that potential into the manifestation of the world of singing, the world of notes, now I know that potential belongs to you. The world is nothing but manifestation. In other words, the world that we experience is the very testimony of Maya. The world is constantly nothing but a song in different expressions, in different words, in different languages, in different colors, in different forms. I infer by the presence of Jagat, there must be a cause. There must be a cause which is Sarva Jnanam Sarvam Shakti. Janardana, that word in the center, ard, that's a root word and has two definitions. The first one is going. The one who makes all asuras go to unpleasant places. How? By the law of their own karma. When a person does something that is damaging to the society, what happens? They get punished, they get taken. In other words, by the law of their own karma, then the police force has taken them to an unpleasant place called jail through their own karma. Not that the police, just does it randomly. In other words, what is an asura? An asura, because we always see these two words, asura and rakshasa. And look at asura as a dominant rajaguna, followed by sattvaguna, followed by tamaguna. In other words, benevolent, power-hungry devatas. In this world, we also have that. We have benevolence, right? Like governments and politicians and presidents. They are good. They're not there to harm the country, but they're what? Power-hungry. There is an agenda. So I am the one who takes such asuras to unpleasant places, eventually to contemplate and rethink their life so that they can be more in alignment with Dharma. Rakshasa is dominant tamaguna, followed by rajaguna, followed by sattvaguna. So least sattva, most tamaguna. In other words, Rakshasa is like a Ravana, you could say, quote, pure evil. They're so clouded, disgusting evil. And definition 2, asking for something. Krishna is the one who is propitiated by all people, because we all ask only whom? Bhagavan for results. Limited results and unlimited result. Now what is the limited result? Sakama Bhakti. Sakama Bhakti means what? I look for results in this world, either in this world or in next world, like different loka. In other words, Sakama Bhakta is the one who thinks that the asker and the asked are different. Okay, so the one that I'm asking is different from me. Whereas a Nishkama Bhakta, the one who wants one unlimited result, is the one who knows that the asker and the asked are both one. They may not know how, because they're still a Nishkama Bhakta, remember? But they've heard in the spiritual books, they've heard others speak like how it's all one. So they're like trying to find out, how is this all one? So now we can say, Janardana, narrate to me, because descriptions that you say are like nectar, they're like amritam to my ears. Verse 19 to 39, finally Bhagavan speaks. Shri Bhagavan uvacha hantate kathayishyami divya hyatma vibhutayaha pradhanyatah kurushreta Nastyanto vistarasya me.
Well, now, Arjuna, the best of the Kurus, I will tell you my divine glories in keeping with their prominence, because there is no end to a detailed description of my glories.
So Krishna is happy with Arjuna's request, and he will indeed expound these special glories that Arjuna has asked. Nastyantaha vistarasya me. So Krishna says, there's no end to my glories, because I am this whole universe manifesting in different forms, including all 14 lokas and many, many more worlds. Pradhanyataha. And for this reason, Arjuna, I will only list a few important ones, because I cannot list everything. It will take me hundreds and hundreds of years to list. Next verse, Nirguna Vibhuti will be expounded in a form of Sat Chit. So when we say Sat Chit Ananda, we will now focus on the word Sat and Chit. So what Krishna is going to do is going to focus straight onto the highest knowledge possible, and then from then on he's going to go down into Vibhuti's manifestations of this world. So this means he's going to focus on those ones with the subtlest minds who are able to ascertain consciousness. Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhuta Shayastitaha Aham Adishcha Matyam Cha Bhutanam Anta Eva Cha.
Gudakesha Arjuna, I am the Self who resides in the hearts of all beings, and I am the cause of the creation, sustenance, and resolutions of all beings and things.
We will divide this verse into two parts. I will tell you when the second part will come in. Glory 1 will be Nirguna glory in respect to consciousness, in respect to Chit. Aham Atma. Because I am Atma, then meditate upon Atma. So now we will expand on that. What is Atma? Atma is consciousness reflected on the Buddhi. Whose Buddhi? From your standpoint, my Buddhi. How do I know about this Atma? Because it is self-evident. How is it self-evident? Because I am aware. That Atma is reflected on your Buddhi as the very awareness of everything that happens in your life, that makes you know about the past, present, and future. The person who has remained and known about all of your conditions, both the mental and the bodily conditions, in the past, present, and future, who is still here now listening to this, that awareness of all of that, I am. Meditate on that, as that. So, what is Atma? Consciousness. What is consciousness? Definition: consciousness is not a product, property, or part of the body. It is an independent principle pervading the body and enlivening the body, and it survives after the body perishes. And it survives after the body mind perishes. Now, what's the difference between those two last statements? It survives when the body perishes, and then I intentionally said it survives when the body mind perishes. The first one applies to whom? Jnani or Ajnani? Good. So consciousness survives when the Ajnani, ignorant person, dies physically. What survives? The mind. When a Jnani dies, the physical body dies, what is destroyed? Both the body and the mind. Why? Because the Jnani has removed ignorance in where? Karana Sharira, which has produced that body. And that ignorance being removed will no longer ever produce another body. When have they removed it? While alive. That's why we call Jivan Muktaha is liberated while living. Yeah.
So how does exactly Antakaran differ from Atma?
Okay, good question. How will Antahkarana, 4 parts. Aham, Kara, Manas, Buddhi, and Chitta, okay? Now, all of this is called Anatma, not self. Yeah, following? So now the question was, how is Antahkarana different from Atma? So now when we say meditate on me, that is the self, and then I said what is that self, what is that Atma? When the consciousness, what consciousness? Brahman shines on or is reflected on the Buddhi. Okay, that word reflection, I know it's going to create a problem in the mind like a distance, but I'll correct that. Imagine this is consciousness. It is shining where? The Buddhi. And then I said, how do you know the self, Atma? As self-evident I am, as I exist, I am. Now, this Buddhi is how we know about this awareness as I am. Now, when I say reflection, this is a problem in the mind now because the mind likes to create distance. So when we say consciousness is reflected on the Buddhi, we're not talking about as in sun shining onto a reflecting medium from a distance. What are we talking about? When I say the word reflection, it is as though my gestures are a reflection of what? The very personality. Are my gestures different from the personality of Andre? No, there's no difference. So there's no distance between the cause, which is the personality, and the effect, which is the gesticulations, which is through the body. So when we say Atma shines on the Buddhi, what are we saying? That consciousness which is ever pervading is reflected where? In the Buddhi. How do I know about it? I am, as the very self. Now when I say I am, this I am, most people will confuse with, because this, see, remember the Buddhi and the Ahamkara, they're actually always together. So let's remove this little barrier there. When a person says I am, they usually mistake this I am and they think talking about awareness. This happens even in Advaita Vedanta, the one who's been going for 20 years. So how do you discern the difference between the Ahamkara / Buddhi's I am compared to the original reflected awareness, which you are, which Krishna says, meditate on Atma? How do you do that?
By removing the Tama, and so as you said, we are born sattvic. So should we then meditate on the born sattvic nature?
Sattvic nature is the mind, Anatma.
Just remove any attributes.
Yeah, okay. See, when you say I am, right, even during saying I am, is there presence of that I am? There's presence of that. That means whether I say I am or I don't say I am, does the real I need that word to be said? No. So whether there's thought of my existence or not, the fact is there is a silent knowing that I still exist. I still am aware. It is irrespective of whether I think it is that I exist or not. So when I say, how do you know the difference? The difference is very easy. When you say in a sentence, I am feeling very good today, Okay? During that duration of I am feeling very good today, that entire time you were there, okay? You were witnessing that statement being said, the sustenance of it, and when that statement goes away, you're still very much the same person, the same awareness that was before the statement began. So it is irrespective, it doesn't depend on any sentences or any thoughts that we say about who this I am is. By meditating on me, on the self, for that reason, because I, the self, pervade all vibhutis, you need not meditate on any other glories.
So one is the capital self, one is smaller the self.
No, just put it all small self, it doesn't matter. Because there's only one self. Yeah, I know how it is. In some books you'll put the capital in a small self. But that would just be extra confusion now for people to go, which self are you speaking? There's only one self. Okay, again, by meditating on the self, you don't need to meditate on any vibhutis. Why? Because the truth of all vibhutis is the self, Ishwara. So therefore, when you're meditating on the self as the self, the person is simultaneously including all vibhutis in the entire cosmos, including Brahmaloka. Gudakesha refers to Arjuna here. And this has two definitions, Gudakesha. The first definition is the one who has mastered sleep, Tamaguna. The one who enjoys the sattvic mind. They don't have to do anything to enjoy what already is the natural state of the mind, which is sattvic, which is pleasant. And the second definition is matted hair. So it's describing Arjuna. He had matted hair. Now we know some details about Arjuna. Aham atma gudakesha sarvabhutashaya stitaha. Arjuna, I am Atma, the very self obtaining in the buddhi. We can say in your buddhi, but we don't have to use the word your because it's referring to the buddhi. In other words, Arjuna, I aware the ahamkaras I am. I aware the buddhi's thoughts. I aware the buddhi's absence of thoughts. Savikalpa samadhi. No thoughts. Very pleasant. I feel very elevated. How do you know there's no thoughts? Because I aware the buddhi at the absence of thoughts. Arjuna, in you, thou Arjuna, Bhagavan is. In you, Dev Arjuna, Bhagavan is. But not limited to just you. Another way to put this is, O Arjuna, the name Arjuna, the name Tom, is nothing but a superimposed name and form, nothing but a temporary superimposition owing to the power of Maya. You are not that superimposition. You're the awareness of the superimposition. What color do you see? Red. So what is this? It's called nupati. That as though gives its attributes to something else. In other words, I go now, oh, okay, so this bottle is what? It's red. Is it really red? No. So owing to this Maya Shakti, it creates what we call vibhutis, one of these vibhutis, and then when we look through the eyes of awareness, who we are, what do we see? We see form, we see Tom, we see Nama Rupa, we see all our life nothing but names and forms. Another way to put it is Arjuna, the name and form called Lloyd is nothing but saguna, nothing but apara prakriti, superimposing itself as though lending its attributes to awareness. So when Lloyd looks at himself through this buddhi, then he goes, oh, okay, I'm Lloyd, I am, got this body, I've got these thoughts, I've got this memory. But all of these attributes are nothing but that which as though lends its attributes to one pure awareness. So therefore, when I look at myself as Lord, I go, okay, I'm this old, I've got this, I've got this. Whereas the truth of who I am is the one Atma which pervades the entire creation.
It appears to be something, but it's actually something else.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. But I'm using Nima's definition because she has a very specific definition. I'm just making sure that I follow her words. Yeah, it is also that which superimposes its attributes onto something that as though lends its attributes. Let's put a summary to this. The most powerful meditation is to focus, to contemplate upon Ishwara as the very self. Now, if the person cannot do this, then they resort back to Shravanam or Mananam, which is just as good.
But when meditating on self, is it okay to use something as a conduit to meditate? As what you gave an explanation of, there could be Ramana Maharshi or there could be A, B or C.
Yeah.
So, to meditate on self, is it okay to use that conduit to help in meditating?
Yeah, in Glory 1 and 2, verse 20, we're not using any conduits right now. We're using just pure awareness, pure consciousness. So that conduit will come in later. Okay. So Glory 2 is nirguna, respect to existence, sat. Aham atihi bhutanam. I am both the efficient cause, which is nimitta karanam, and material cause, upadana karanam, of this creation, this jagat. Manifestation, is this separate from nimitta and upadana karanam? Is sustenance separate from nimitta upadana karanam? Is destruction or change separate from nimitta and upadana karanam? In other words, manifestation, sustenance, and change or destruction or into change of form is only possible because of the very existence, the very isness, because I am, speaking as Ishwara, the very existence of everything, including manifestation, including sustenance, including change, including destruction. The isness of anything refers to what? Nimitta karanam and upadana karanam. For example, this wood is both nimitta karanam and upadana karanam. Why? We know there's material in this wood, do we not? What kind of material? There is lignin, cellulose, and hemicellulose. So, if you take the cellulose molecular structure, you will see that the cellulose itself is intelligently put together. Now, why do I say intelligently put together? Because we said nimitta karanam. For example, I'll show here. So cellulose, you'll see here on the top, has 6 carbon atoms, 10 hydrogen atoms, and 5 oxygen atoms. So in other words, to create cellulose, you cannot have now 7 carbon atoms. Why? Because the moment you put 7, it's no longer cellulose. So now you have to ask, what kind of intelligence puts the exact amount of atoms that by their number, 6 carbon, 10 hydrogen, 5 oxygen, you combine them together, you create what? Cellulose. And that is just for cellulose. Now you've got lignin. So not only do you take cellulose, which is a complex, intelligent structure of itself, but you take also lignin and you put that together, and then what do you form? Wood. So when we say wood, what are we talking about? Nothing but an intelligent cause putting such complexity together in the exact number, combining it together, and then creating a name and form we call wood. So what is this wood? Intelligent cause and material cause. Let's take an example. Bangle is. Necklace is. Ring is. So the name and form changes, but owning to what can I say is. Gold. In other words, when we say is, it's only because of Ishwara's nimitta karanam and upadana karanam. So now when we say the world is, the sun is, the tree is, the wind is, the person is, my thoughts are, my emotions are, my colors are, all because of is belonging to the very existence principle, which is Ishwara. And that existence is what we call Sat. So when we say Sat Chit Ananda, when we say that Sat, it's the existence aspect of everything that we see. It is. Why is it? Because it all is of the one. So summarizing this, when you say cause, all causes, which are yoga or maya, are manifesting as the very effects, the very vibhutis. How? As the very existence of those vibhutis. The bangle is caused by the gold. Only to the gold's presence, it has created, out of the gold, we can create a bangle. So when I say see a bangle, it is nothing but a reflection of its very cause. So how does the cause manifest? It manifests in the very world that we see, that we call effects. So cause and effect are never separate. Now again, how do you invoke Ishwara's grace? Go back to the original intrinsic value and personal value. How do you now invoke, because we spoke about wood, the isness of things. Now let's invoke Ishwara's grace through this understanding that everything is, owning to nimitta karanam and upadana karanam. How do we do that? Step one, extract the intrinsic value of whatever I appreciate. For example, if you say, I like sugar, that is what? That's a personal value. But then you have to ask, what's the intrinsic value of sugar? Sweetness is. I only say sweetness, why? Because it is a reflection of upadana karanam, nimitta karanam. So I extract the intrinsic value, and that is what I meditate upon.
What about beauty could simultaneously be a subjective value and an intrinsic value?
Which one?
Beauty.
Beauty. Yeah, good question, huh? It's...
beauty and what?
Well, that's subjective. That's subjective because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So the whiteness of the whiteness of the sugar, for instance, could be beautiful to some people or not beautiful to other people. They might want brown sugar.
Yeah, you go a little bit more specific, because if I say beautiful now, I don't really know if it's my beauty that I'm calling it, if it's the beauty, because is a rainbow really beautiful, or it's just what's the intrinsic value of a rainbow?
Colors.
Colors, the perfect roundness.
Beauty can be a value as well. This creation is beautiful.
But it's not intrinsic. It's up to you whether you consider it beautiful.
What you consider.
Everyone is considering beauty in different
I could hate it.
Okay, let's put these two glories together. Glory 2 plus glory 1 equals Sat Chit. In other words, existence, awareness. Now, who can, 10 points, give me 2 words that summarizes Sat Chit that we all relate to in the entire world?
I am.
Okay. So I am. So what does this mean? What's the first word that comes out of our mouth? Whether we say it or not. I. So it's only in the presence of I. It's only in the presence of existence that everything else can come. It's only in the presence, because remember, when I say existence, I'm talking about Brahman. And who exists in the presence of what? In the presence of me, in the presence of that Brahman, all of the other things relating to what? Vibhutis, which is Maya potential, come. Therefore, I exist first. In the presence of that first existence, all other existences are able to come. And when I say all other existences, I'm talking about vibhutis, which is an expression of Maya potential. And Maya potential, is that Ishwara or is that yours, if you speak from the point of view of Brahman? It's your power. Maya is not Ishwara, it's not like, oh, Ishwara is over there. You are Brahman, and Maya is what? A potential in Brahman. So therefore, I first come in the presence of that I that is. Not only do I exist, but there is an what? An amness. What is the amness? There is an awareness of my very existence. And not only am I aware of my existence, but I'm also aware of what? Of all other things that appear in my awareness, of the entire Maya that produces this entire world, which is my own power. I exist, and I that exist, I am aware. Aware of what? Of limitlessness. What is limitlessness pointing to? The very infinite capacity, which is Ananda, limitless, all knowledge, all power. Aditya namaham Vishnuhu Jyotisham Raviram Shuman Marichi Marutam Asmi Nakshatra namaham Shashi. Dao?
Among the Adityas I am Vishnu, among the luminaries I am the sun, the one who has rays, among the morals,
Yep. Maruts.
I am Marichi, and among the luminaries seen at night I am the moon.
Excellent. So we've done with Nirguna, now we will go to Saguna glories. Aditya nam aham Vishnuhu. Aditya is a devata related to the sun. Devata means of the heavenly world, not necessarily on earth. They're subtle, and when I say not on earth, I'm not talking about spatially, but more subtle. Therefore, they are parallel realities, is just unknown to our own senses. Just like Wi-Fi, who can see Wi-Fi? It doesn't mean that Wi-Fi doesn't exist. And there are 12 Aditya devatas. Where? In Pitraloka. But Pitraloka generally is the next loka above Bhuloka. They obtain in the 12 months of the year. Every year, the earth travels around the sun. When we see the sun, we're only seeing 12 faces of the sun. So every month, the sun in itself, in respect to the earth's rotation, presents a different personality. The sun on a January is very different than the sun on a June or sun on a September. Who knows about Surya Namaskara? Yeah? How many asanas? 12. 12 asanas, 12 Aditya devatas. In other words, we're prostrating to all 12 faces, all 12 personalities of the sun. And the sun is only a vibhuti of Ishwara. Of these Adityas, I am Vishnu. So who is Vishnu? When Ishwara is, from the standpoint of sustainer, we call Ishwara Vishnu. I am the sustenance of all of these 12 faces, these 12 devatas who are presenting us a different aspect of the sun, of the physical sun. Therefore, I am Vishnu, the sustainer of 12 Aditya devatas who are responsible for or who obtain in the 12 months of the year in respect to the earth's rotation around the sun. Then, Jyotisham Ravihi Amshuman. Among the luminaries are bright things in the sky, planets, galaxies, solar systems, stars. So out of all of the luminaries, I am the sun, with its brilliant, powerful rays. So this means when you come out during the day and you feel those beautiful, powerful rays, that heat on your face, I am that. So I am the sun, the center of the solar system, which is quite ironic because Bhagavan should also be the center of our lives. And because I am the sun, I energize the whole solar system. Just like Atma energizes, quote, energizes, enlivens the entire person for every single jiva in the past, present, and future. So I am the sun which gives life on earth. We all dwell on earth because of me, because of my powerful rays, which are expressions in 12 different ways, depending on the earth's rotation facing the sun. And also in the Vedic tradition, wake up before the sun rises. Do you know why? What's the psychology? What's the thinking of this? Wake up before the sun rises. To wake up before the sun rises, I am welcoming Lord to bless me for one more day. Oh Lord, here you are, bless me. You're giving me one more chance in life, one more day to change, to make a difference in my life, to see your vibhutis, to attain, to recognize the truth of who I am. So this Vedic culture is very rich in these symbolic rituals that you will see. Today we don't wake up before the sun so much, but this is how the Vedic tradition was. I welcome the Lord because the Lord is the sun. And the first thing that I see before I see anyone else is the Lord. In other words, imagine the kind of tone that sets up for the entire day. Now, Marichihi Marutam Asmi. There are 49 devatas who are divided into 7 groups. And these 7 groups govern an aspect of Vayuhu, of wind. For example, one group will be governing a cyclone type of wind, a very strong, powerful wind. Another will be governing a very sort of a gentler breeze. And then it says, among these 49 devatas, I am Marichihi. Now, who is Marichihi? I am that devata which, before I answer that, did you ever have in your life, at some point, maybe a young person, maybe even now, where you were outside and then this perfect cool breeze, like perfect, soft, gentle, embracing, tender, kind, enlivening, cultivating, refreshing breeze blows against your cheeks, and it's almost like it's alive. It's neither too fast, it's neither too slow, it's neither too cold, it's neither too hot. It's kind of like just the perfect breeze, and you're just standing like, it's like alive. It just brushes against your cheeks, and you can almost feel it like it's alive. So this perfect breeze that we all enjoy, no matter what culture we're from, that is Marichihi. I am that Marichihi. I am that devata of the perfect, cool, tender, kind, soft breeze that we all adore. Nakshatranam aham shashi. Now we go to the luminaries at night. I am the brightest one, being the moon. I can now go anytime at night and I see the moon. Can you miss the moon? No way. And I can now appreciate manifestation of Lord in the very moon that I see every single day. It's no longer just the moon now. It's a lovely, bright manifestation that nobody can miss. Now, also, this can be interpreted in a second way because the word nakshatra means a place that one goes to. So nakshatra is the moon. So I am Chandra Loka. What is Chandra Loka? Out of all of the lokas that we have, Chandra Loka is one of the pleasant ones that we all want to, as a Ajnani, would like to go to. For example, after a near-death experience, the person will speak of seeing their ancestors and being drawn into some light. So the first loka they experience is someone that they see familiar. Those familiar characters are in the Chandra Loka / Pitra Loka. They're synonymous words. So I am the Chandra Loka that we all want to go to as a Ajnani and see, just because it's such a subtler world. It's not so heavy as this one. So the point is, so far, we're not trying to worship these devatas like Marichi or the Aditya. All of their glory that they have is owning to Ishwara. So all of their glories is Ishwara's glories. Therefore, we extract the intrinsic value and we go, wow, the wind, Marichi, right? And I go, this is beautiful, something that I can really adore as Ishwara's creation. Vedanam sama vedosmi. Devanam asmi vasavaha, indriyanam manashchasmi, bhutanam asmi chetana.
Among the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Among the gods, I am Indra. Among the means of knowing, I am the mind. And of the embodied beings, I am the faculty of cognition.
Vedanam sama vedaha asmi. I am Sama Veda. The Vedas are the most sacred texts in the Vedic tradition. We have 4 Vedas: Rik Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, and Sama Veda. The Vedas are divided into 2 sections, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda deals with action-reaction. If I do one action, I apply a certain ritual, then I will get a certain result. Both the karma is Ishwara's glory, and the karma pala is also Ishwara's glory. So, this means it is an indirect way of showing Ishwara is the cause of all things. And we also got the direct way of showing that Ishwara is the cause of all things through the Jnana Kanda / Upanishads. This means I ascertain knowledge, and after I do, through Nidithyasanam, through Mananam, through Shravanam, then it leads to the unity between the Jiva and Ishwara. That means the Jiva-Ishwara Aikyam. Now, out of all of the Vedas, I am Samaveda. Why does Krishna say this? Because all of the Vedas, if you chant them, they are excellent. However, if you chant the Sama Veda, it has a musical tone to it. So if you go on YouTube, maybe tonight, you type in Sama Veda chanting. It's really pleasant to hear to the ear. That Samaveda beauty that you hear, I am. Also, the Samaveda has the popular Mahavakya, Tat Vam Asi, which is from which Upanishad, if you know? Chandogya Upanishad. Chapter which? Chapter 6, between Uddalaka and Shvetaketu. Okay, so Uddalaka is a father, Shvetaketu is a son. Shvetaketu goes to the Vedic school for 13 years and he learns all of the chantings, he can recite it back and forth, and he's the best student in class. And then he comes back to his father and says, hey, look, he's proud, right? He's like, look at me, I'm so smart. And then the Uddalaka says, has your teacher taught you that knowledge, knowing which all of the things, both heard and the unheard, becomes the heard? Has your teacher taught you that knowledge, seeing which the both seen and the unseen becomes the seen? And Shvetaketu is like, wow, what are you talking about? How is this possible? In order to know the unknown, I have to first see, I have to first learn it. But now you're saying that I can learn about that, knowing which I can know about the unknown, even though I don't know it? How is that possible? And then chapter 6 begins. It's an excellent chapter that you have to go through. And then chapter 7, we've got Narada. Actually, I'll put that later. It's not appropriate now. Deva nam asmi vasava. Among the devas, that means among the gods. Now I said gods, plural. Whenever I say gods, I'm talking about devatas. I'm not talking about Ishwara. If I say God, just one word, that is Ishwara. Okay. So among the gods, I am Indra. Your question will be, who is Indra? Indra, in the Rig Veda, out of 1026 verses, is mentioned over 200 times. Right? That's a very prominent devata, right? Why are you being mentioned 200 times? You have to be representing a really important role in these Vedas. So, first thing to understand about Indra is a position. Just like a CEO is a position, a president is a position. Okay, remember how I said that we have Brahmaji's one day, 4.32 billion, 1,000 Chaturi Yugas. Remember that? And then I said it's split into how many parts? 14. Run by 14 Manus. So each Manu gets to run 1/14 of 4.32 billion years. Now, Manu does what? What do we say Manu means? The one who governs. Now, who is next to this Manu? Indra. So Indra position is next. This is Manu, this is Indra position. What does Indra do? Go back to the verses. We spoke about different devatas, yeah? And they all preside over different aspects of creation. Some over the sun, 12 faces of the sun, some over the air, right? So who is Indra? The one who governs all of the devatas who are responsible for preserving different aspects of creation. So look at it this way. You got manager. Who manages the manager? The CEO. In other words, if you call Manu the president, Indra would be the CEO. In other words, Indra would be like a tax auditor who makes sure that everyone's staying on track. Yeah? So that's why, and that's a big position. Imagine being Indra. You have to not only account for every other devata who is, running this universe, but you have to make sure that, they're all honest. One thing to remember about devatas is this. Every devata is also a jiva. So now you can't say, oh, okay, so they are, they're jnani. Why is Indra Indra? Because only to the punya karma acquired on earth, doing something really extraordinary, they get this high position called Indra, the caretaker of all other devatas. In other words, we're not trying to get stuck now and be some deva, like I want to preserve the universe. But only understand that both this, even Indra and the Manu, are just ajnanis. They do not know the fullness of who they are. Thus, they want to have a big position. Just like the president wants to have a big position of taking care of the whole corporation. So this means even a Jivan Muktaha on earth who doesn't play much of a big role is technically in a higher position than both the Indra and the Manu. From the absolute sense, not from the microcosmic sense.
Devatas just don't have physical bodies, but they're still entities in that respect.
Yeah, everything has just a subtler body, not as physical as ours. So they all have Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira. Okay, these three shariras always have to be, and Karana Sharira, but not as physical, gross, heavy, intensified as ours. Indriyanam aham asmi manaha. Among all the sense organs, I am the mind. So this means we have both Jnana Indriyani and Karma Indriyani. What is Jnana Indriyani? All organs of knowledge, like the eyes, like the ear, like hearing, smelling, tasting. And Karma Indriyani, in other words, I need the organs of knowledge to input data, process it to my Antahkarana, the mind, and then output the reaction how? Through the Karma Indriyani. So now why does Krishna say here, I am, out of all of the sense organs, I am the mind? Because all of our five senses only function in the respective field which they function. The eye only functions in sight. The eye cannot hear. The hearing cannot see. It can only hear. Whereas the mind functions in all five fields of senses. Therefore, one can take their very own mind as the greatest glory of Ishwara in the entire universe. Because the mind is so amazingly complex, and at the same time, we don't even understand our minds, and yet it is another glory of Ishwara. Now, careful, don't turn this into worshipping one's own likes and dislikes, because it's a dangerous spot there. So this means we have to take the intrinsic value of the mind. What's the intrinsic value of the mind?
Analysis. Analysis.
Discrimination.
Discrimination, good, yeah, okay. Dispassion, the ability to go, aha, the ability to have clarity. Bhutanam asmi chetana. I am the buddhi. What does the buddhi do? Discrimination, and it is that organ, it is that principle which causes me to say, I have understood now. I got it. It is clear now. So that very capacity to understand is also Ishwara's glory.
Is that correct to call it an organ, even though it's in the...
Yes, organ is karanam. Karana means what? Instrument / organ. And lastly, the second interpretation of Bhutanam Asmi Chetana is I am the very life sentiency because of which everyone is alive. So this introduces why we should never hurt or minimize hurting as much as possible. In the Vedic culture, there's a reason for vegetarianism, right? Okay, why? Because we're not hurting, we're minimizing damage to animals. Therefore, we choose a certain lifestyle which reflects honoring that sentiency principle that inheres in all creation. Or the other way is not to spray everything in your house. Okay, rather take it out, and because it's honoring life. In other words, respect all life and apply ahimsa, non-injury. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, any questions? We're not going to do any work today. Okay.
A few lessons ago, I think it was 2, you said the jnani has one understanding. That understanding is Brahman has a capacity called Maya.
Yeah.
When that capacity is manifest, we refer to Brahman as Ishwara. This lesson you said Maya is a function within Brahman, and you also said Ishwara has a power called Maya. So when you said this lesson, Ishwara has a power called Maya, you're referring to Brahman.
Okay, remember how also I said 2 sessions ago, we need to know when do we use the word Ishwara and when do we use the word Brahman?
Potential.
Okay, so we have how do you use Brahman? I don't have a problem. We'll just use sun. Okay? That is you, Brahman. It has a capacity called Maya. When this capacity expresses, we have a Jagat. Jagat is nothing but a reflection of, now you cannot use Brahman, use a reflection of Ishwara. So from a standpoint of creation, we refer to this Brahman who has this capacity manifesting, and from trying to explain this like world, what is this? We say, well, this is all from Ishwara. It's all of Ishwara, who you're not separate from. Because this world contains Tam, contains all the other jivas in the entire creation, all of the worlds. And all of them are making up this total jagat. Just like all the waves in the ocean make up the total ocean. And that ocean, to talk about that ocean, is what the wave is trying to do. And he says, you see this entire whole, this is all Ishwara. But what's the truth of the whole ocean? H2O, water, consciousness.
You also said today that the Swarupa of Ishwara is Maya, is yoga. But isn't the Swarupa of Ishwara Brahman?
Yeah, okay, Swarupa means the nature of Ishwara.
Yeah, so isn't the nature of Ishwara Brahman, awareness?
Yeah, but just remember now, when I speak Ishwara, it's not separate from Brahman. So we only refer to Brahman from the standpoint of, we only say, from the standpoint of creation, like right now, when I refer to Brahman, I'm referring to Brahman as Ishwara. So it doesn't really matter if I say Swarupa of Ishwara or Brahman, because they're not separate. The ocean is never separate from the water. In fact, the entire ocean is nothing but the water.
I think what we've got to remember is that what we're doing is we're separating and pulling things apart to get an understanding and to see it. But then sometimes we're forgetting to put it back together again as the whole. And then we're keeping that idea of separation, which isn't really there.
It's just two words of the same thing.
Yeah,
it's
good.
It's a different vocabulary. So
different vocabulary.
Then that gets confusing. But now I've understood that.
Good.
Yeah. So it's really you can say Brahman is there everywhere in Prakriti.
Yeah.
We just give it a different terminology to understand the Jagat and give it the name Ishwara. You can say it's Brahman as well.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. But I guess to give in respect to studying and understanding the philosophy.
Just like Martha said, to take them apart and then put them together.
We call it Ishwara, and in the realm of Jagat. Brahman is given the name of Ishwara.
Yeah.
In the name of Jagat.
But you can still say that all knowledge, all power is dependent upon awareness. Can you say that or not?
All knowledge, all power is a capacity of Brahman.
It's a capacity of Brahman.
Yeah.
Which is Ishwara.
That seems to be...
No, which is Maya.
But isn't Maya Jagat in potential? Which is Ishwara, isn't that what the definition of
Ishwara is always Brahman, just like Madhva said.
But there's
no difference between Ishwara and Brahman. We only say Ishwara when we're speaking from the standpoint of creation. Okay, I'll give you one more example. This is going to clarify. Imagine your name is Brahman and you go to sleep. What comes out of you called Brahman?
Sure.
A power that creates the whole world. This world, we call it the Jagat. Now in this world, there is a person called Tom. And Tom asks another person, remember they both come from Tom because Tom is dreaming, what's this world? What's this world? It says Jagat is this world. And what is this world made of? It's made of you. And who is this me? Brahman.
So cool, yeah.
But now it says, oh really? Okay. But how is this possible? How am I all this? Well, you see, when you dream, from the standpoint of the dream, you're called now who? Ishwara.
Ishwara, yeah.
From the standpoint of the dream gone, you're called Brahman. So there's no difference between Ishwara and Brahman. We just use that to give some context between these two words. And also Vincent?
I actually have two questions. The first one is, I assume the Vedas were written before Krishna was born.
Sorry?
The Vedas were existing before Krishna was born. Because he...
Yeah.
Okay. Then, the other thing is I'm a bit confused because in the first paragraph of the glories, so he said he's the sun, he's the moon, he's the breeze that everybody likes.
Yeah.
So then he's saying that he is all the things which are the brightest, the best and everything.
Okay.
But then that seems very dualistic.
Sure.
So now I'm quite confused.
Sure, okay. You hear the question? It's a good question. I know where you're coming from. Okay, so the thing is, if I put Krishna, I think what's happening is you're putting Krishna as a person who is, now born one time. Look at Krishna as a representative of the truth. Right? Someone has to speak about this dream called Jagat. And this speaker, this representative, has to come through a human being. You're not going to listen to, an alien or something. He has to relate to you. He has to be a human being. So a human being called Avatara is created, who is nothing but a representative to explain how all of this works. Now that representative is a reflection of what? The whole. So now when Krishna says, I am the sun, I am the moon, I am the 12 faces, all he's saying is, I, speaking as a total, am that. But I have to also speak to you from the standpoint of the human body, right? Because you're not going to have some big voice from the sky speaking, I am everything. So now, does this make it a little bit more clear? So when you have something that represents, like a wave, for example, speaks on the behalf of what? The entire ocean. The wave's never talking anything else other than the entire ocean. So we need to have one intelligent wave that's aware of the whole ocean in order to represent this knowledge and tell other waves who don't know, who are ignorant. And this wave that knows is called Avatara.
So that means this Krishna is so-called a real person that existed, which actually transmitted knowledge through the Bhagavad Gita, basically, right? I mean, it's not an imaginative thing. It's supposed to be a historical figure in a way.
It's still places where he was born is still existing in India, and something doesn't emerge like that just for a story.
It doesn't really
in the
matter.
places.
Yeah, good. I was going to ask that.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay, Vincent, you are Krishna.
Yeah.
Because Krishna is speaking as who? Krishna is who? The wave. Speaking on the behalf of the whole. What's the whole made out of? Nothing but the water. Are you apart from the water as a wave? No. So Krishna is just speaking who you are. Right? Nobody here is like not Krishna. You are Krishna already. Except this Krishna has removed, not removed because the avatar doesn't need any removing, but this Krishna's buddhi is not contaminated by ignorance. That's what we call an avatar. The one not contaminated by personal notions, they know. Because what did we say about earlier? Atma is always shining on the self as what? On the buddhi. Therefore, the one who has that pure mind will know I am that awareness. And then when they cross-reference that with the Upanishads, it is exactly the same. Because nothing that Krishna says is apart from the Upanishads. It all matches perfectly from the Puranas or the Upanishads. See, the thing is, it will be very hard to trust one person who speaks and you cannot check that up somewhere else. Right? Very hard. But the Vedas are not like that. Every single text complements something else. It is all cross-referenced, all cross-checked. So when Krishna speaks, don't think it's some person randomly now, like I am the sun, I am the moon, I am everything. No, he's just saying the exact same philosophy, methodology that is revealed in the Vedas, just in a more relatable way that a human being can understand. Yeah.